Over the last 30 days, I have been trying the carnivore diet to see if it can help with my chronic health condition, myalgic encephalomyelitis, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome, a condition that is of course very similar to long COVID. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I've observed in this month, and basically it's been pretty positive. But first, if you are new to this channel, my name is Patrick Usher and I'm an ME-CFS patient, and I'm also someone who follows the research very closely. This is a place where I aim to present simple, accessible explanations of ME-CFS and long COVID so that you can feel more empowered in understanding these conditions. It's also a place where I share treatment strategies that I myself have tried. If that sounds of interest to you, please like and subscribe. Now, I've been interested in the carnivore diet for quite some time, and I've listened to many podcasts of people who have tried it and improved from all sorts of health conditions. And in another video, I want to explore why it is that the carnivore diet might help an illness like ME-CFS or long COVID in particular. But today I'm just sharing what I have observed in my first month of being a carnivore. So before I get into the 5 improvements that I have noticed, I should explain what it is I've actually been eating. So I've had 2 meals a day, and in the first meal I have about 400 to 450 grams of beef mince. I asked the butcher to prepare the mince specially to include 40% fat and 60% meat. So this is a higher proportion of fat than you might find in the supermarket, for example, where most typically it might be 20 or 15% fat. Along with this meal, I have about 6 eggs and around 100 grams of fresh cheese, which I melt over the beef, and it is absolutely delicious. In my second meal in the evening, I typically have 3 to 4 lamb chops. And again, I ask to have the skin and the fat kept on. I might also have some eggs with that meal or some other organs, for example, chicken liver or chicken hearts on occasion, or perhaps some cod liver, which is a very popular food here in France. You can buy it in the supermarket pretty much anywhere. Now, the reason that I want to have such fatty meat, if you're not familiar with the carnivore diet, is because you're not eating any carbohydrates. And so you really do crave fat because it is then your only source of energy. And so this is why I asked the butcher to prepare more fat. And I have to say, and he's been very accommodating, and I think he's happy for the business as I pop in twice a week to pick up 1.5 kilograms of mince and 12 fatty lamb chops. Now, I should say that I have not been 100% carnivore. I have been closer to 95% carnivore. And I do have a weak spot for dark chocolate, and I have continued to eat 4 squares of dark chocolate per day. Now, this is not ideal from the perspective of the carnivore diet for all kinds of reasons, and ultimately I would hope to be 100% carnivore. But some habits do die hard, and I'm sure some people watching this can understand that when you are chronically ill, sometimes you can comfort eat, and for me dark chocolate has been a comfort eating thing, but I have limited myself to 4 squares a day. Another thing is that I also drink oral rehydration solution every day in order to boost blood volume, and I drink 2 liters of that. Now, oral rehydration solution does contain glucose. I've done a whole video about my experience with drinking oral rehydration solution for my ME-CFS. It's been the most helpful supplement that I've ever found for my condition, and that video is up above right now. So that does mean that I am not 100% zero carb. Nevertheless, the vast majority of my energy is coming from fat intake. So I have noted 5 improvements in particular over the last month. The first one is that my stamina has improved. Now, I'm not saying it's been like some kind of magic bullet improvement, but I definitely noticed after about 10 days of being a carnivore that that my legs felt lighter and that I was capable of walking more quickly and doing more activity. Indeed, for the first time in about 5 years, I was clocking 8,000 steps per day. Now, previously, I was kind of more between 6,000 and 7,000. This is a very pleasing increase, and I am hopeful that the carnivore diet may allow me to work all the way up to even the holy grail of 10,000 steps per day. The second benefit that I've noticed, which is closely tied to the first one, is that my crashes are not as intense. Now, normally when I crash, it would be a question of being down for a day and a half, 2 or 2.5 days. And during that time, I'd be very weak and unable to do much. But what I noticed is that when I do crash, the crashes are only lasting about 3 to 4 hours. And this is a welcome change from my perspective and was quite bizarre the first time I experienced it. But again, the only thing that I've actually really changed in the last month has been to become a carnivore. And so it must be that all the meat is helping my muscles to recover more quickly. And that makes sense because within meat, you have several key compounds which are very important for energy production. You have got CoQ10, you've got carnitine, and you've got creatine. And we know that all of these things tend to be low in ME-CFS. They're all essential for energy production. So if you're eating a lot of stuff that actually boosts the amount of those substances in your body, it makes sense that that should increase your energy production. Perhaps mainly for that reason, both my stamina and the length of the times that I'm in a crash have improved. The third improvement that I have noticed relates to body composition and skin. Now, my skin has improved in its quality to some extent. It seems to be softer and clearer in general. And my body composition has also improved. So going into this, I had a fair bit of belly fat, which has been coming off me. I just noticed that I am looking leaner. And although I'm not someone who's capable yet of working out, I do some physiotherapy exercises for my legs, but I can only really do maybe one muscle in a day because more than that could trigger post-exertional malaise. But I have noticed that I look leaner. So these improvements have been very encouraging and certainly have been more noticeable than one would expect from just doing a diet for a month. The fourth benefit that I've noticed is that my gums have stopped bleeding. They were bleeding all the time. Whenever I was brushing my teeth, they would bleed. And after about 3 weeks of being carnivore, this started to go down, and now it's essentially not happening at all. So that's a very good sign that my body is less inflamed. And the fifth benefit that I have noticed is that I don't usually need to have a rest after my first meal. Previously, I would get very tired after my first meal and I would have to go into a kind of deep rest, a sort of semi-comatose state, and that might last for a half hour, 45 minutes or an hour. And that's not happening. I finish my first meal and I can usually just continue doing other things. Maybe I have to rest for 10 minutes, but it's not a long time. So it's been a very encouraging change again. So those are the 5 benefits that I have noticed so far. I should say that before this, I wasn't eating in a kind of, what people call the standard American diet, but the standard Western diet. I was eating a lot of fruit, but otherwise I was also eating a fair bit of eggs and some meat and things like avocados. So really what I've cut out are a lot of bananas and pears, avocados, and that's kind of actually all I've changed. But those have been the benefits that I have noticed. I'm very encouraged by them and I hope to continue and see what happens with this. For me, I don't think a problem with diet is the root cause of ME-CFS, but I do think that if any treatment can help you in any direction, it helps you everywhere. And it's all about lowering the various physiological burdens so that you can help your body to move in a better direction and hopefully one day feel so relieved of various different burdens that it just spiral upwards towards health. Now, I do have some things that I think I need to work on. I can't continue with eating the dark chocolate. That is a comfort eating thing, as I said. I think that it's going to be, there's a lot of defense chemicals in chocolate. I always feel stimulated after eating it. I don't feel great after eating it. So that's something that will have to go at some point. I am told that there is life after chocolate, but at this point I'm not entirely convinced, but it is something that I'm going to have to do at some point. Another thing is that I do sometimes in the mid-afternoon feel like it's what I might call cheese o'clock. So I might go and buy some cheese and then eat it, sort of hard cheese. And that's something that I also want to change. I don't really want to be eating outside of my meal times. And in general, I'd rather stick with the fresh cheese. I'd also like to include organs a bit more regularly, maybe for sure 3 times a week. I'd ultimately really like to make my own bone broth and to drink quite a lot of that, because I'm interested to see if that could help with my problems with skin elasticity. Because like a lot of ME-CFS patients, my skin has become quite stretchy. I don't know if that's going to be a lifelong thing. It probably will, but if there's any way that diet could help with that, I would be interested to find out. And finally, I also want to increase the speed at which I eat. I find it takes quite a long time to eat meat. Partly this is because since I became ill, I do not produce as much saliva as I used to. But one thing I've been working on is strengthening my jaw muscles to allow me to chew more quickly, and that is helping me to get through meals more easily, and also to eat the chewy bits that before I might have felt that it just took too long to eat them. So that's something that I am working on. But basically, I'm quite encouraged by things so far. I am enjoying eating in this way. If you want to find out more about the carnivore diet or to be motivated by success stories, I really recommend the Sean Baker podcast. That's SHAWN. He's got lots of stories of people who are recovering from all kinds of things. And it's really inspiring to hear people, even though they might not have my health condition, but to hear them coming back from the brink of something very serious. I hope to do further videos on how I'm going with the carnivore diet, maybe in another couple of months. If you have any questions for me about the carnivore diet in relation to ME-CFS and long COVID or my experience, please do leave them down below. Let me know if you have tried this yourself. I'd be interested to hear your experience. It's not for everyone, but some people do really well on it. So that's everything for this video. Down below you'll find a link to a free medical hypothesis that I've written about thirst in ME-CFS and long COVID, as well as details about a consultation service that I offer if you want to discuss things like diet or treatments with which I'm familiar, like brain retraining, in more detail with me. Okay, that's it, and I will see you in the next video.